NBL.ca or one of our social media outlets for tonight's rosters and other breaking news. All right, Monctonians, it's time to introduce the Magic's #1 fan, Duncan the Dragon! We want to thank Clubhouse, the official group of the Moncton Magic, la merci officielle de Magic de Moncton.
Brought to us by you, right?
Magic fans, please rise and remove your hats. Join us for our national anthem brought to you by Uni and Melanie Richard.
And it was close. Yeah.
You can turn it on. You should turn it on first. You can turn the microphone on.
Number 13, Duvon Maxwell. And number 50, Zachary Valga.
Fish said
the others were coached by Tim Kendrick.
The link to like pictures on Twitter.
You're doing a video first?
Video?
Good evening and welcome to our second broadcast right here in Moncton, New Brunswick. You're at the Moncton Coliseum, and it is NBL Saturday night. I'm Scott Squires along with my broadcast partner, David Tingley, and it's the rematch, the back end of a home-and-home. A couple of nights ago over in Charlottetown, this Island Storm team, in a pretty offensive affair, defeated the Moncton Magic by a score of 120 to 116, David. I know the first couple of games haven't gone the way that the Magic would like, but they're glad to be back home. And what do you look for here this evening in this matchup with the Storm and the Magic?
Well, I think more of the same from the first matchup, I'd say, Scott, except you talked about it being an offensive output. But if you look at the shooting numbers from both teams, I don't think either one of them would be particularly happy with how that went. You had a pretty high-scoring, entertaining affair, and the shots really weren't falling for some pretty talented players.
Well, I know that in talking to Coach Joe Salerno yesterday on the Magic Time podcast, which you can link to on my Twitter account at Josco, Johsco, he said that exact same thing, David. He said, you know what? He said, if I could identify something that really has been tough through the first few games, he goes, the shots just aren't falling. But you got to think with a talented team like this that it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit, I talked to Jay Will there, Williams, before the game, and our pregame interview you can find on the website there. Fans, check it out. He talked about exactly that, not being worried about that part of it. Those shots are going to fall too talented, and a lot of it's just got to do with being in a rhythm, and that comes from playing minutes, repetitive minutes with these same guys and getting into a groove.
Well, it'll be Tim Mitchell going up against Zach Valliere for the opening tip. And again, the Moncton Magic glad to be home. They feel that they started to get some things going in the right direction the other night in Charlottetown, and they're looking to get their first W on the season. So the Magic 0-2, the Storm 1-1, and we are underway. Glad to have you with us here from Moncton. Here's AA Anthony Anderson. Gets it into the only returning player that was on the Moncton franchise last year, Tim Mitchell, and Mitchell does what he has a propensity to do, and that's go strong to the rim. Yeah,
and I looked for them to go to him real early, and you look at the numbers from the other night on the island. Only played 13 minutes, low shooting numbers, low scoring output for him from Timmy, and I expected Joe to do exactly this. Coach Salerno go to Timmy early, and he paid off with a trip to the line here.
So Mitchell misses the first. He's second on the team in rebounding with 9 boards a game. And speaking of rebounding, a good job there by Williams to grab that board off the free throw miss.
And hustle and second possessions are something that the Magic have struggled with, creating those second opportunities. So that's a good sign early.
And here's a wonderful performer for the Storm through the first couple of games, Franklin Session. Works it over here to Stringer. Half-court set now. And Coach Tim Kendrick said before the game a key for his side would be ball movement, everybody getting a touch, and everybody kind of gets a touch on the perimeter. And it's Chris Johnson who knocks down the tray, and right back the other way, Tim Thomas.
And Terry Thomas is impossible to stop in the open floor with a head of steam behind him.
Terry Thomas answers right back, took that ball quickly in transition. So after Johnson nailed the tray, good job by Thomas to get the momentum right back the other way and put a deuce on the board.
If Terry looks up and sees 1 or 2 guys ahead of him with a head of steam, that's all he needs.
Here's Al Stewart. Now he's got Anderson with him, 2-on-1. Anderson takes it strong, right hand. No problem for AA Anthony Anderson.
And turning defense into offense has been another point of emphasis, I think, that the discussion matter for the Magic coaching staff. And another good sign early to see a little turnaround there.
Session from outside for 3. Gets to the front of the rim, no good. Williams with the rebound, and right back the other way. Thomas again, like a freight train. Thomas cuts to the right, off glass, and he'll get the and one. Terry Thomas on fire to begin this one.
And a full crowd hasn't filed in yet, Scott, from the Santa Claus parade in town, but the fans that are here made a loud noise for Terry with his back-to-back hoops and the harm.
So Thomas looks to convert the three-point play, and he does. And after falling behind early, 3-0, it's 7 unanswered. So a 7-0 run here for the Moncton Magic. And as mentioned, these two teams played a couple of nights ago over in Charlottetown. So certainly no feeling out process as Valliere takes a shot from the outside, gets the side of the rim. Nice job again by Williams grabbing that rebound. Stewart gets it to Williams, goes right in through the lane. Good defense there by Maxwell, and Williams is active here early on.
Yeah, another good second effort by Jay Will. He could have given up on that ball and kept it alive and earns the second opportunity.
15 seconds on the shot clock here. Stewart to inbound, gets it to Williams. Williams to Anderson, being watched by Session, steps back. Can't find the range on that one. Great job to get the rebound by Mitchell. Stewart, bounce pass in, Valier on him. Mitchell backs his man in, takes it strong into the paint. Look at Mitchell spin around and gets the bucket. And Mitchell pumps the old bicep. He loves it.
And he split the double team. A really good, a really solid move there. That's a tough needle to thread there, squeezing between two big guys and finishing off the window.
Staying true to Coach Kendrick's instructions. The Storm trying to get some good ball movement here, moving that ball around. Lots of movement on the perimeter. This is Stringer now taking it against Stewart. The two 10s come together. Stringer goes to the right-hand floater. Valier with the rebound. Can't get it to go. And coming in over the top from behind was Williams.
And I'm interested in the backcourt matchups here that Coach Salerno's chosen. He's matched up two-time Defensive Player of the Year, Al Stewart, on Stringer instead of the matchup I expected to be on Session, but we'll see how it works out. And AA is doing a pretty good job making him shoot that jumper. That's the route to go with Session for all you fans that haven't checked him out yet.
Well,
check out the Kyrie Irving handle on him.
He's got great handles and he's got great range. And after he hit that shot, as we see Stewart go strong to the rim and answer back. But moments ago, when Session hit that bucket right in front of the Moncton bench, he turned around and I think he had a couple of words. I don't know if he was looking for somewhere to eat later, but he definitely had some words for the Moncton bench.
Yeah, I don't think it was say hi to your mom or anything, or best wishes to your family. I think it was, a little chatter there. I think that's the game plan with him, is make him shoot from the outside, because we talked about that handle is deadly.
Our officials for this evening, Brad States.
No relation.
Brian States, I should say. Paul Hansen, Brian States, and Brent Stalker, a very solid officiating crew here this evening for this contest. But you can see early on, we're only a couple of minutes into this one, and it's like it's the middle of the fourth quarter, the way these two teams have come out and gone at each other. It's almost like a continuation of the game the other night.
Well, yeah, and you get that in these home-and-home matchups. A lot of time, the way the previous game ended is the way the second game begins, and that fourth quarter and the end of the third was wild. That was a really entertaining end-to-end, and that's what you're going to get here tonight. Don't turn the channel, fans. This is going to be a game in the 80s.
So 9:08 left to go here. Early stages of this first quarter. We've already had a fair amount of action. 11-5, the Moncton Magic leading, and it's been the usual suspects for the Magic. Terry Thomas bringing the energy that he always does. Tim Mitchell has been strong early on the glass, as has Jeremy Williams, Jay Will, the young man from Memphis, Tennessee, who went to the University of Texas, El Paso. He's got a little bit of extra energy going here this evening. Does 21 in white.
He does, and he's the prototypical guy you look for in this league. Length, shooting, quickness. He's got it all. He's a tough matchup defensively, and he brings a lot of versatility offensively for the Magic.
Johnson now gives it off there to Maxwell. To Session. Session being watched by Anderson. Coming over to do a screen was Maxwell there. Got right in the face of Anderson. Top of the key there. Johnson puts a little runner in. Gets it to fall. 11-7 now, and Stewart will slow things down in transition and set up in the half court for the Magic.
Good signs for the Magic defense. They're making the island take the shots they want them to take. Sessions from the outside. That's a tough finish with a hand in your face in the paint. The other night it was a little too easy, I think they felt like, for the island, and it's a lot tougher here early on.
So 13 seconds on the shot clock. Mitchell will inbound. Valier right in his face. Gets it into Williams' hands. He goes top of the key to Stewart. Lobs it into Mitchell. Mitchell spins around Valier. Second chance point there as he tried to put the putback in. But Mitchell again right now, he is feeling it. He is. He will not be denied underneath that basket.
And they're force feeding him. And I think Timmy's coming in here with a chip on his shoulder. If I know him, the end of the last home game, the first matchup here wasn't a good one for him. He was really frustrated with the physicality in that game, and he got a couple of really three quick fouls there at the end of that third quarter of that first game, and the first game against the Island too, very frustrating for him. Not a lot of minutes, not a lot of typical Tim Mitchell play. So I think he came here with a little hitch in his giddy up, and he's showing it.
Mitchell hits the back end of that one. So 12-7, 5-point lead for the Magic here at home. Session He's been magical for the Island Storm. That one goes off the front of the rim, though. Look at Terry Thomas. Nice little bounce pass on the wing to Stewart. Williams, top of the key. Nice look there as Williams drains it, no problem.
And a pretty feed from Al. Jeremy just had to walk right into that one and rise and fire. He knocked it down.
Stringer from way downtown off the front of the rim and rebounded there by the Magic, and back comes Williams again to Mitchell. Again, they'll swing it around now in their half court. Williams, top of the key, stops, pops off the back of the iron. Mitchell there again, baseline for the rebound. Got a little elbow up into the grill of Maxwell.
Called him for a travel, a good call. The Island defender had two hands on the ball and forced him into a travel. But again, the effort's there. Another offensive rebound early for a guy that was top 3 in the league last year in that category.
Checking into the game out of Bathurst, New Brunswick. Played his ball for the University of Prince Edward Island. Brad States, he wears 7 in orange. Played his rookie year last year for the Island Storm. Glad to be back with the team in Charlottetown. This is Johnson against Thomas. Maxwell wide open, and he's going to put that one off the front of the bucket. Rebounded smartly there by Anderson, who's got Session right in him. Stewart now.
And again, exactly the type of shot that the Magic want the Island to take.
Williams can't find the range. States with the rebound, nobody around him. He'll bring it up the floor now. Stringer puts it on the floor, steps back. Again, can't get the roll. Good rebound by Mitchell, and Salerno right in the ear of Stewart. I think he just here and let's get into our half court.
Yeah, he wants them to run their stuff and not take the first good shot they see.
8 seconds on the shot clock. Anderson from downtown, and he hits that one right there from Dieppe.
And that's some good stuff to run when you find Anthony Anderson a wide open 3 he can step right into.
17-7, double-digit lead now. Biggest lead of the contest. And a nice rejection there, but Session stays with it. Gives another little bit of trash talk back, and Session right now is trying to get under the skin of the Magic, I believe.
Bringing a little spirit of the Drew League to the NBL Canada.
No question about it, and you can talk the talk when you can walk the walk like Session does, and he made the nice play and got the bucket. Session getting screened off there by Mitchell. Mitchell just backs him in with Anderson at the top of the key, being defended there by States. So some good lively matchups all over the floor.
Had a little flashback to Wesley Snipes from White Men Can't Jump there a little bit. Talking to the guy after he beats him on the dribble.
Well, that's one of the things about this league. It's lightning quick, only 40 games, but some very good rivalries get built up, and we know that these Atlantic-based teams, especially with the addition of the St. John's Edge, they're going to go at it all season long, and it's going to be a blast. Williams to Terry Thomas, puts it on the floor. The two 13s come together. Look at Thomas! Through a sea of orange, goes to the right-hand leaner and gets it.
He wants to go that right hand, but it's like that awkward lefty you play against. He always wants to go left, but he somehow gets there anyway. Terry's the right-handed version of that. He just always seems to get to his right hand.
Spinning in the lane is Maxwell, and Maxwell, nice move there to get the deuce. 19-11, 8-point lead. Stewart.
Maxwell was a monster in their first matchup the other night.
Anderson spins around Aussie, and it's turned over. Here comes Maxwell. Now Maxwell underneath, swooping underneath the bucket there under pressure from Thomas. And a nice play there from 13 in orange, Devon Maxwell, known as Mad Max to his teammates.
Yeah, and he was in the fourth quarter. The matchup on the island was Thunderdome, and he was the man that left standing. He was a monster the other night in all categories.
Coach
and he, talk about the talking, he did a lot of it the other night.
So a good pace, good energy to this one early on. 5:12 left in the first quarter. 19-13 is your score. The Moncton Magic leading here. Scott Squires along with my broadcast partner David Tingley. Glad to have you with us. Our second home game of 20 being broadcast right here on NBL Canada, and we are very pleased that you're with us. Anderson tried to get it over to Williams. He did a good job of staying with it after it was deflected, but good defense there, I should say, from States. But States took an elbow up into the grill. Now Williams from downtown with the shot clock expiring. And look at Williams, hungry. Feeds it to Mitchell baseline, and Mitchell goes off glass as a couple of Storm defenders go spinning down to the ground like a whirlpool. And meanwhile, Mitchell just puts the easy bucket home.
And the Magic are getting a lot of hands on those 50-50 balls. It's been working against, the math's been working against them these first two games, but they're making things happen tonight.
And Maxwell right into the chest of Mitchell, and Mitchell did not move. Here's Thomas back the other way, throws an elbow and a shoulder into the defender, States from the back. McColo felt the force of Thomas there as the two came together, former teammates last year with the Storm, coming together with opposite teams now. Session, no good there, and Mitchell right underneath, and look at Session. Aggressive, trying to get a hand in there, but the Magic calmly bring it up the floor.
And the presence that Tim Mitchell's had on the offensive end is nothing compared to the defensive end as Anthony swoops to the hoop for 2 more. But his defense at this end, Mitchell's really set the tone early. He's just been a racer in the paint.
Wide open Maxwell, baseline jumper, no good. Aussie tried to get the rebound, but again it comes down into the hands of Mitchell after some good help underneath the glass from Williams. So it's a 10-point lead, 23-13, 3:31 to go. Mitchell calmly surveys the floor, gets it over to Thomas. McColo on him. McColo gives a little slap to the elbow. Thomas says, fine, you want to slap me on the elbow? How about I charge it right down your throat and get a bucket? States back the other way, goes hard into Mitchell. And States, anybody runs into Mitchell with any kind of force is going to feel the after effects.
That's an unbelievable finish. You're talking about trying to finish through contacts hard enough. When that contact comes from Tim Mitchell, it's almost impossible, but States did a great job. You hear the whistle, you get it up on the glass, and you never know what's going to happen.
So Terrell Baines and Anthony Cox fresh into the game now for the Magic. 25-15, still that double-digit lead, and States from the line.
And Terrell Baines has been a little frustrated with his finish in the lane off some good setups from AA and Al and the other guards. He's been talking to himself a little. Let's see if he gets off the schneid tonight. He's a better finisher than he's shown the first 2 games, that's for sure.
Thomas, little bounce pass inside, feeding Cox. Cox makes a nice little spin move against McColo, and Cox makes his presence felt wearing those Rugrat socks. Trying to be a Rugrat there and wreak havoc on the Island Storm, and they tried to feed Dyke inside.
I would never have known those were Rugrat socks. Man, having you as a partner is going to be educational.
You have 3 kids, you watch enough children's programming, it's amazing the things you know.
How did I miss that? Of course, they can't get away from the shoes, so.
Look at Stewart now, puts it on the floor, baseline, and States. Good defense there, staying with Stewart as he tried to slash into the lane. 2:41 to go in this quarter, 27-16. The Magic have led ever since they came back from an early 3-0 deficit. They haven't looked back since. 11 on the shot clock. Stewart being watched there by Aussie. Inside to Baines. Baines backs down the defender. Look at Baines use his strength there to charge it into the bucket.
Yeah, he took out some frustration on the Island defenders there. Just willed his way to the hoop. And that's an example of a guy like Terrell. He plays bigger than his size. He shouldn't be that big of a load in there, but he's just got such aggression down there. And when it's focused properly, it's a sight to see. And that's he earned himself these trips to the line.
So Baines, 6'7", 225, speaking of his size, hails from Greenville, South Carolina, attended Marshall University. We are Marshall. So the Marshall alumni couldn't get that one to go, but gets it right back, just stops, pops, off the front of the rim, back of the rim, and down into the hands of the Storm, and then foul called right away on 41, Anthony Cox.
All good shots, all good opportunities for the Magic, and they're creating lots of second chances here. And again, keep doing that.
First foul on Cox. States will inbound now to Tyler Scott. Tyler Scott, one of 5 Atlantic University sport products on the floor between the two teams here. McColo, and my goodness, Terry Thomas took a hard collision there from Brad States, and a good sportsman States over to check on Thomas. States going by our broadcast position here, looking over and saying that's a flop, man, but I'd say that was a well-earned flop given the amount of shoulder that got put into Terry Thomas's chest.
Well, listen, sometimes you feel the contact and you make sure the ref sees it. It might be an embellishment, doesn't make it not a foul. And I think that's, I think Brad objected to the embellishment nature of it maybe, but.
Thomas, no worse for wear, goes to the left-handed off glass. Terry Thomas, a man possessed right now, and now Thomas having words for the Storm bench.
He heard me talk about him finding his way to the right hand, I think. So the last two's been all left and pretty as you can make it.
Turnover now, Corey Allman from 3, yes! All the way from Caracat, New Brunswick! A long-range bomb from Corey Allman.
And everything that one of these Magic players was brought to town to do is on display tonight.
Tyler Scott, the UPEI product, couldn't get the range on that one, and Marquise Clayton back the other way. As mentioned, all kinds of AUS players here. This is Allman now. Gives it off baseline. That shot was nowhere near the mark, and back the other way with some pace. Dyke Jr. tried to take it strong, and Marquise Clayton, the much smaller man there, but stood his ground. And now Coach Joe Salerno, being the coach that he is, takes Clayton over right away and has a word.
Yeah, and I think he's talking about spacing. Corey took the ball on a pull-up there, and he kind of had no choice because Clayton had kind of crowded him at the top. I think he was just talking about the spacing at the top for these two new teammates a little bit.
Torrance Dyke Jr. from Rochester, New York, attended Damon College, not far in Amherst, New York. No good on that second. So 33-17, 16-point bulge right now for the Magic. And look at Clayton. We talked about him the other night. No rookie jitters for number 8 in white, that's for sure. Under a minute to go, 8 seconds on the shot clock, and again, big contact underneath as Baines went strong into the paint in a physical first quarter here, David.
Yeah, and another good call there. You can't drop the shoulder, and Terrell knows that he's, I got one. He's good with it. But yeah, I mean, this is a physical, end-to-end, lightning-quick matchup, exactly what you expect from the league and any two teams, especially these two.
States steps inside the three-point line, can't find the range on that smooth-looking jump shot, and it comes down into the hands of Ashanti Day.
And great box out by Ashanti.
And Clayton literally getting coaching from Salerno as he's going up the floor. You've heard a dribble drive, that was dribble coach.
And it worked out. Nice kick and a pretty step to the hoop from Ashanti. He left it short.
And Makolo brings it up the floor, gets it over to Aussie. States back to the top of the key. Makolo can be deadly from there, but can't get the range on that one. And again, the Magic calmly get that rebound. Shot clock is off. Only 6 seconds to go. Clayton surveys the floor. Clayton takes it against Aussie, and Aussie, good defense to knock it away, and desperation at the buzzer. No good, but Coach Joe Salerno clapping his hands. The bench is happy, and the fans are happy. 33-17 after a quarter, and from what we saw here in their home opener the other night, David, at least offensively, certainly a pretty different-looking Moncton Magic team.
Well, and defensively, too. I mean, I talked a little bit just a minute ago about how this seems to be clicking. What the thing that these guys were brought here to do is on display. Corey Allman's brought here to shoot threes. He popped one in. Tim Mitchell's here to create second chances on the offensive glass and be an eraser defensively, and that's what he was. And Terry Thomas is brought here to be a scorer, and he sure was.
Well, Terry Thomas, 5 of 8 from the floor, 11 points to lead all scorers, and leading the way for the Island Storm, Chris Johnson with 5 points. But you're absolutely right, Terry Thomas just huge in that first quarter. And if you can get 11 points a quarter, you're setting yourself up for a pretty good night.
And Terry's he's very self-critical. I talked to him after the first game the other night, and he basically he came out and said, "We lost because of me." He's a very self-critical guy, and of course that's a ridiculous notion. It's a team sport, and but he takes it very personal, and I think he took the Island loss even more personal, and he's bringing it out here tonight.
Well, he's self-critical, but you can't argue with numbers sometimes. I know it's only 2 games in, but he's leading the team in points per game at 24. He's leading in rebounds a game at 9.5, and he's got the best percentage from the floor on the team through 2 games at 46.3. So perhaps that criticism is only fueling him to get better.
Yeah, but I think part of it was reasonable. I think he was settling a little bit. He settled for a lot of semi-open threes, which isn't which he can make, and he's working on it. He's becoming better in that area, but that's not his game. His game is what we've seen here tonight. Put your head down and create. And
through all of that, one of the most interesting things that I saw in that quarter was the active coaching with Joe Salerno. And again, he's not on your screen right now, but again, just to our left, he's talking to Marquise Clayton, again, really coaching him up. And there were several times in that first quarter where actively, while Marquise was on the floor, Coach Salerno was actually coaching him up as he was going up the floor.
And as great a CIS player as he was, this is a huge step going to the pro ranks. And I think Joe sees what everybody sees. He's got the potential to be a real contributor, not an end of the bench, but mainstay, but a real contributor. And I think that shows if you don't have hope for a guy, you leave him the heck alone. And he's really in his ear for that reason.
Aussie no good from range. And Marquise Clayton, it was interesting talking to Coach Tim Kendrick, who is originally from Willfield, Nova Scotia. He's very familiar with Marquise Clayton from at AUS days, but also coached him in high school. And Coach Kendrick said, I love this kid. He said, more than just a basketball player, he's a really fine, good young man.
And if that's coming from Coach Kendrick, it's on the up and up, and it's valid, because he's a great guy himself and recognizes it in others. And obviously one of his favorites.
And great job there by Clayton, following up his own miss, getting the rebound and kicking it back out to Anderson. Anthony Anderson now 13 on the shot clock, gets it to Clayton. Aussie is on him. Dips it inside to Baines. Baines backing McColo in. Now puts the shoulder into him. Right hand off glass and in. Terrell Baines flexes the muscle and gets the bucket.
And the thing about Terrell is he knows he's not going to get double teamed. Tim Mitchell maybe. Terrell's not going to attract the double team. He knows he has time to put that ball down and go to work, and did he ever?
Anderson now spins around one man. Chance to take it up against McColo. Kicks it out. Almond thought about the shot. Defense closed quickly, so he had to change his mind. Baines now working baseline against States. Good matchup there. Baines with States right in his grill. Works it over 5 on the shot clock. Corner 3 off the top of the backboard and down. So again, good active ball movement by the Magic, getting to a lot of second and third chances underneath the bucket.
Yeah, and I think a little subtle note there was when Anthony Anderson drove down the left side and got himself up in the air, there was that eye contact between himself and Corey Allman. A little bit of experience now, a couple games under their belt. Corey had a better idea of where Anthony was going to be going with that and got himself available.
Stringer tried to get it to McColo, and McColo, you got to have quick eyes and quick hands over there. A couple of fans right along the right along the sideline with beverages in hand. Good job by the fan over there, hanging onto the beverage with one hand and deflecting that errant pass with the other.
Absolutely unbelievable. The hands on her.
10-18 left here, early stages of this second quarter. Clayton gets it to Anderson. Anderson puts the shot up. That's no good. But
more second chances.
Yeah, there's the Magic again dominating in the paint right now underneath, grabbing boards at both ends of the floor.
And Anthony's just smiling to himself. He just lost the ball. He's pointing to Coach. Don't take me out. I screwed up.
He still got a smile on his face.
I don't think Anthony goes very long without a smile on his face.
Anthony Cox from West Hempstead, New York, attended Farmingdale State, which is in Nassau County. And for hockey fans, you would know that that's where the New York Islanders played their hockey for a long time, the Nassau County Coliseum. Loose ball. A couple of players get to it, and it's an over and back.
And trying to sell. He tried to sell that he got pushed into the backcourt was Mad Max, but wasn't buying it.
And you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about the communication. You're absolutely right. In that first game, we saw a lot of I don't know if rust is the right word, but a lot of uncertainty with certain guys as to who was going to be cutting where and who was going to end up where. So far this evening, not seeing any of it. As Allman, goes to the floater and gets that shot to go. But right now, everything going the way of the Moncton Magic. 37-17, 20-point lead. Now the question is, can the Island Storm make a run as States takes it strong to the bucket, gets it to go, and he'll go to the line, and that's the kind of effort you're going to need. We've talked about it before with this league. It's a league of runs, and when you're down 20, it doesn't mean that your game is done. I've covered this league for a number of years, and it's not unheard of to see teams go on 15, 20-point runs.
No. I mean, it's a cliche, but this league, no lead is safe in the first, at least not in the first half. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're right. Runs are the story in this league. Can you withstand them, and how many can you create?
Marquise Clayton to Corey Allman, and Allman from well downtown nails that three.
Looking super confident is Corey Allman tonight.
The Magic overall just seem on a whole other level of comfort compared to what we witnessed in the home opener on Wednesday. Maxwell now trying to back the defender in. Outside to Johnson, puts it on the floor. Takes it down to the corner. Tyler Scott, corner three, and he is smooth from there. Tyler Scott nails it.
Yeah, he was a difference maker the other night. He hit one of those. The Island wasn't a great shooting percentage from three, but the ones they hit were daggers, and Scott had a couple of those.
Tyler Scott, an outstanding performer in his time at the University of Prince Edward Island out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Left Halifax to go over to Charlottetown and played for the Panthers. Stringer for three. And Stringer comes up limping. I'm not sure if he turned his ankle on the...
He did. He landed on Marquise's foot.
Marquise gives it off to Allman, and the confident-looking Allman again! Allman is feeling the stroke right now. And if this was old school NBA 2K, he'd have a big flame above his head.
He would indeed. That is a pretty stroke, and you give him any space, and he's going to get it off.
My goodness, Allman right now in a zone. Stringer to Maxwell. Tyler Scott, he can hit from there. Off the back of the rim and
but
down.
A really good closeout by Anthony, and that's what the difference defensively. Nothing is easy for the Island Storm tonight.
Back now to Allman, kicks it out to Williams. Little dip inside to Cox. Cox backs the defender in. Good job by Cox, spins around. Couldn't get the roll. And a nice job by the Storm boxing out and grabbing that board underneath, and it's Tyler Scott again. Scott gives it off to States. Two UPEI Panthers trying to connect there, but the shot no good. It's like an AUS gathering here. We've got a couple of Panthers trying to connect for the Island Storm, and now a St. Mary's Husky gives it over to Corey Allman. And again, Allman couldn't get it that one, but look who's underneath to gather up that rebound and put it back. It's Anthony Cox.
And that's not going to shake Corey's confidence at all. You see that ball was right on line, just a little bit short. You could see him, a little nod to his head. The next one, I bet it goes down.
24-point advantage, 45-21. Clayton tried to get it to Cox, turnover, and here comes Maxwell. Maxwell gives it off there. Nice look by Johnson, and Johnson round and round and round it goes. It was like watching clothes in my spin washing machine for a moment there, but it goes down and he'll take the bucket.
And Double A is trying to get his team to move a little quicker up the floor, run back at him here out of a finish.
6:35 left, 11 on the shot clock, and Anderson, if he sees any kind of daylight, David, he's going to take it to the rack.
That's just a classic Anthony move. He just he gets you back on your heels a little bit, gets up in the air. If he can get his body into you, he's such a solidly built guy. He gets that body into you just a little bit, gives him enough space to get it up, and he's just so crafty with such touch around the rim. It's it's unlike anybody else that's been in the league, and that's why he's the league's leading scorer all time.
So we've got 6:33 left to go here in this second quarter. It's been an excellent performance if you're a Moncton Magic fan. 47-23 is your score, a 24-point lead. And you know, the Island Storm came out quick, got that three ball early, and looked to have a little bit of confidence. You know, we had Franklin Session doing a little bit of jawing at the bench, and they were kind of feeling their rhythm a little bit. But this Moncton Magic team, they seem to be putting it all together. You know, Coach talked about in the first game, he felt pretty good about their defense. Mm-hmm. In the second game, he felt a little better about their offense. And I joked with him, I said, well, maybe tonight they'll both come together. And again, I know it's early, but so far so good for the Magic.
Yeah, they're in such a good rhythm. And you talked a little bit earlier about how maybe it was inexperience, and it is inexperience together. You can be a ball player for years and years and years, but like I've been, years and years and years. But if you show up, no matter how good this guy is, if you haven't played with him, you're not going to know the subtle stuff the subtle movements he likes to make, the head fake he likes to use that lets you know he's going back door or circling behind you or whatever it is. And that takes a little bit of time. And that seems to me, there's a little bit of evidence of that tonight where they just have, it's just a little bit better. It's just clicking better a little bit.
Well, sometimes statistics bear out the score that you see, and sometimes they don't. But with 6:33 left to go here in the second quarter, 47-23 your score. And the one stat that jumps out at me from a team perspective right now, the Moncton Magic, 20 of 38 from the floor, almost 53%. The Island Storm, on the other hand, 10 of 31 for only 32%. Mm-hmm. So you add up the difference in percentages, and it's about a 24-point lead.
That's right. And Session back in here, probably trying to look to spark this team here.
Maxwell against Williams. Good battle underneath the bucket there. You heard the slap as the two players came together. I think Session wanted to call. He's got a kind of a cheeky grin as he works back.
That was just great D. Jeremy stayed straight up, and that's all you can ask for.
And Anderson goes around Stringer. Look at Anderson. Went in strong against Stringer. Stringer stayed with him on the defensive end, though.
AA looking for shots, but Stringer did a good job of digging it in there before he managed to get it up on the glass.
14 seconds left on the shot. Tim Kendrick now over having a word with Paul Hansen. Kendrick, great talking to Coach Kendrick before the game. Know him well from his UPEI days, and we see Williams put that short-range jumper up. No good, and back they come the other way. This is Andre Stringer. Stringer coast to coast. Nice move underneath, but Clayton grabs the board. Quick out to Anderson, gives it to Almond. You know what he's going to do? Off the front of the rim.
He made me a liar, but he should still keep shooting them.
Session now being watched by Anderson. Gets it to the top for Maxwell. Maxwell over to the side for Johnson. Short range, no good. Rebound underneath went off the hands of Mitchell, and Mitchell slaps the post underneath. So Al Stewart, Terry Thomas back into the game now. Cox and Clayton will take a seat for the Magic. But just to finish that thought on Kendrick, you know, he's so excited to be coaching in this league, and he said he's been watching it for a long time, and he's almost pinching himself. He's so excited to be here, and a great coach to have for the Storm. There's no question about it. A quality guy.
I had a Pavlovian reaction to him, seeing him come in the gym. I've coached against him, unfortunately, so many times, and played against his former players so many times, and I know how tough it is in both instances.
Nice dish there to Johnson as he took the feed from Maxwell underneath and took it strong to the hoop. So the Storm here trying to...
And here's a little bit of John going to an extra level here now.
Well, a little pushing and shoving now as the 2-13s, Maxwell and Thomas, exchange pleasantries.
And if I was Island, I'd wait until it wasn't quite so much a spread to begin the John here. Yeah, I don't think the Magic need more of a fire lit under them, judging by the game so far. And Al is not buying what Maxwell's selling, I know that.
Chris Johnson will go to the line now. Johnson second on the team in points per game through the first couple. He's averaging 18.5 points, shooting 51.9 from the floor.
And he was a tremendous presence the other night as well. Did a little bit of everything for Island and just was so solid. Knocked down some big perimeter shots. Gave him some second chances. Solid defensively.
And smooth there to hit the bucket. That's 10 points on the night now for Johnson. Stewart into Williams. Williams has played well so far through this first half. Thomas to Anderson. Anderson being backed away there by Stringer. Gets a little screen, and Williams gets it right back. Wide open for three. Front of the rim, no good. Down to the corner. Good job there by the Storm to gather up that rebound, and now it's Session. Franklin Session up the floor, gives it to Johnson. Right back to Session. Nice pass inside. Maxwell goes up against Mitchell. Valier right there for the rebound and gets the roll to go. And now, careful, Maxwell and Mitchell having some words underneath, and now the intensity really picking up here in this one.
Yeah, and Tim's going to disagree with that call, and he's going to get a T for it. Yep, saw that coming. They gave him his chance to. Vent, and that's what good refs will do. You got a chance to vent. I'm going to tell you once. I'm going to tell you twice. And that's what happened. Brent Stalker gave him a chance to walk away. He didn't take it.
Well, off the top of the broadcast, you mentioned some of the frustrations that we saw with Mitchell the other night in the home opener, and he was walking on the tightrope of maybe getting a technical. Didn't happen, but he gets teed up there, so Stringer will hit that, and now possession will go to the Storm.
And, of course, that gives them 3 now. And any fan of the Miracles last year knows that it was a constant drum we were beating. His foul trouble, and it's actually 4, isn't it? Yep.
So foul trouble right now for the big man, Tim Mitchell. He had a great start to this one, so we'll have to see if Coach Salerno thinks about it as Session.
I can't imagine him remaining on the floor. And Al Stewart, great job stealing that board away from Valier.
Al Stewart, diminutive in physical height, but a massive player when it comes to energy and guts. Stewart from the outside. Oh my, oh my. Al Stewart puts the fingers out, and yes, Al, that's a 3.
He's got the best pair of hands I've seen on a basketball court. He's just flashing so quick in there.
Look at Session making some nice moves, slashing through the lane, gets it off to Mad Max. Maxwell gets the nice runner to go.
It's so awkward looking sometimes with Maxwell as he flashes through the key and shoots back across his body, but he's so talented with it, got such good touch. He's got such great size to rise up in there.
3:35 to go in the quarter, 12 on the shot clock, and Thomas lost the handle and right back the other way. Johnson with pace. Nice move to step around the on-rushing Stewart, but couldn't get the roll. And that would have been really nice for the Storm had Johnson been able to finish. However, back the other way now, it's the Magic. Stewart again in that half-court set. Stepping around Johnson, gets it over to Thomas. He's wide open. No good on that one, and comes down into the hands of Denzel Taylor. Stewart again.
Taylor's been really solid these first couple of games here. Hustle plays and making his presence felt.
Well, when I talked to Coach Joe Salerno on the Magic Time podcast yesterday, and he reviewed the first couple of games and he talked about some of his personnel, he said that he was hoping to get Denzel Taylor some more minutes tonight, and he felt that he was going to really be able to step up the contribution.
And he's earned it. He's seen limited minutes through the first two games, but each time he stepped on the floor, you've noticed him. He's done something, and he was like we talked about in the opening broadcast. He was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, voted by his teammates at ODU, Old Dominion University, and you get that respect level from your teammates. That says a lot.
So 3:03 left to go here in the first half. I'm Scott Squires, along with my broadcast partner David Tingley. Glad to have you with us for our NBL Canada broadcast here. Second home game for the Moncton Magic, their third game overall. Looking for their first victory. They lost at home the other night, 96-89 to the new team in the league, the St. John's Edge. And then a couple of nights ago over in Charlottetown against this same Island Storm team. They came up short on a 120-116 game. And looking at the Island Storm, well, they're 1-1. The game against Moncton I just mentioned, and their season opening game was also against the St. John's Edge. And the Edge pulled out a nail-biter there, 97-96.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Edge for a second. How close did they come to starting the world's worst opening season road trip 5-0? I mean, 3-2, and they really could have been 5-0.
Well, Coach Jeff Dunlap and his squad very happy to be home, and we talked about it the other night. But I know the fans in St. John's are going to be heading out to Mile 1 Center. They are excited, and I'll tell you, fans, anyone from in and around St. John's that's listening that's going to have a chance to go to that home opener on December 1st, get out and watch that St. John's Edge team. They are well coached. They're a fun team to watch. And there's just something about having that addition of Carl English, the Newfoundland and Labrador native, with all of that basketball experience, that just has some kind of special feel about that Edge squad.
Yeah, and they do a good job with the I've been super impressed with the operation of the team too. That Twitter feed of theirs, things like that, those little details that go to building a respect for the squad overall. They're just really well done and well operated too.
Mitchell to Almond off glass with a defender right in his face, and Corey Almond playing very well here in this second quarter.
I am shocked that Tim Mitchell's still on the floor at this point, but dropped a dime there.
Maxwell against Mitchell. And Mitchell, maybe not as aggressive on the defense there with the 4 fouls.
He did a great job moving his feet and staying straight up there. My breath caught in my throat there as a Magic supporter to see a talented offensive player go right at Timmy here in this situation with 4 fouls.
52-31.
Coach Salerno coming in front of us here trying to verify with the bench that it is indeed 4.
Mitchell, nice job by Stewart to corral that pass. Gets it right back to Mitchell. Fingertip in the lane. And Tim Mitchell, forget the fouls. He'll take the points.
Doing a George Gervin imitation there with that finger roll.
Well, you're going to have to do what I do when I reference an old school player. Hey, kids, if you haven't seen him, Google him.
Yep.
Outside Johnson for 3. And Mitchell grabs the rebound with authority.
He's got a fancy nickname, if that helps people, the Iceman.
Al Stewart now gives it off to Thomas. 13 on the shot clock. In there for Taylor. Denzel Taylor lost it. And now with some speed, Stringer. Stewart tries to get back, tries to hinder the shot, but Stringer does a good job of keeping the pressure from Stewart away just enough to get the shot to go up.
Yeah, that was a great challenge from Al. Made a seemingly easy layup really difficult, and good on Stringer to finish.
Almond with Stringer right in his face, gets it to Thomas. Thomas strong to the paint. A couple of Storm defenders right there. And the foul called. Looks like it's going to go against Chris Johnson. And that's the 3rd foul now on Johnson. So a couple of players here, one from each team. Johnson for the Storm and Mitchell for the Magic. In a little bit of foul trouble here with 1:33 left to go in the half.
Yeah, and that changes the things like this change the complexion of the rest of the game, because you got a good coach comes in. These are two good coaches. They come into a game with, they got rotations in mind. If everything goes to plan, I'm going to rotate this guy in for this guy at this time, and this guy in for this guy at this time. And then you react how the game goes, obviously, little adjustments, but you got a pretty good idea what you want, and that throws things off for both these squads.
90 seconds left in this half, 56-33, 23-point advantage for the Magic. They've been leading big for a while, and Stringer from downtown says, well, let's see if we can chip into this lead 3 points at a time.
Took advantage. Taylor stumbled on his hedge a little bit coming out there to stop that screen roll, and he just bared it with the rise and fire.
And look at Thomas in against a couple of defenders, puts the shoulder, the torso, everything, his hips even, into the defender, Devon Maxwell. That's a good matchup underneath there. The two 13s coming together.
Absolutely.
Thomas for the Magic and Maxwell for the Storm.
Both guys play hard and do a lot of chit-chatting. And Terry's got that. He's got that awkward, hunched over look with that dribble that visually it just looks like he's not in complete control. But he crosses that over so pretty. It's tough to stop, and he did a good job there getting back to his left hand.
And a nice crowd on hand here on this Saturday evening. As mentioned, a beautiful evening. The Christmas parade, holiday parade taking place in the greater Moncton area. But again, a nice crowd here this evening. And they are witnessing right now a pretty darn good performance by the Magic. Tyler Scott put up the awkward-looking shot, and Maxwell tried to throw it off the back of Al Stewart to see if he could get it to go out of bounds off of Stewart to keep possession.
I think it's going to go back to the Magic here.
And the fans didn't like it, but yeah. Maxwell, credit, he went over right away to check on Al to make sure he was okay.
He did. It wasn't intentional, but it came back and hit Maxwell after it hit Al. And a good call there by the refs getting together and making it right.
Terry Thomas leading the way scoring-wise for both teams. He's got 14 on the night. Chris Johnson with 10 for the Storm. Al Stewart to Thomas. Thomas puts it on the floor, kicks it right back out. Little bounce pass inside now for Cox. Or excuse me, that is Cox. It is Cox, sorry. Cox again gets his own rebound, goes to the right hand and gets it off glass and gets it to go. So a great sequence there from Anthony Cox.
And add him to the list of Magic players having their best of the 3 games tonight.
Maxwell goes right against Cox, kicks it out to States. States back to Maxwell. Maxwell bounces it to the corner. Tyler Scott takes it baseline. Tried to get it back to Maxwell, but good hands there by Allman. Shot clock is off. 16 seconds to go in the half, and the Magic now, it looks like they'll play for the last shot here. Leading big by 23. Stewart gives it to Cox. Cox lost the handle, gets it back. 6 on the shot. Over top and right there for the putback. Nice work by Denzel Taylor.
And that's what he's paid to do. He's paid to defend and get to the offensive glass, and a great finish to the half for the Magic.
Well, sweet, sassy Molassy, what a half by the Magic. Terry Thomas loves it as he is telling the crowd Williams is getting the crowd on their feet. All of the Moncton Magic are feeling it right now, and why not? The Island Storm must feel like they're in the eye of a storm right now. They trail by 25 at the half.
And I think when this team was constructed, this type of half, this type of play is exactly what they envisioned. They envisioned a team that could stifle another team defensively with 3 layers of D, starting with Al at the top, Al Stewart at the top, and then starting with Tim Mitchell in the back. And they thought they would have 3 levels of offense, great ball handlers, great perimeter shooting, and great inside play. And you're getting all of that on full display with this Magic squad so far.
So before we step aside for the halftime break, let's talk first of all about the Island Storm. You know, obviously you just broke down the Magic a little bit, but you know, the Island Storm, they had a great performance the other night. Franklin's Session was absolutely unbelievable. And Session 6 points right now. So I think if you're the Magic, you must be pretty happy that you've kept Session to 6 points, especially if you looked at the first 2 minutes, it looked like Session might be wanting to just control this game right from the outset. And
they didn't let him do that. They came in with a game plan. I talked a little bit about how I was surprised that Al Stewart wasn't matched up on. I think that was calculated. They put Al on Stringer. Okay, let's lock him down, and let's put Double A, who's not as quick but a very capable defender and got more size. Let's put him on Session, back him off, give Session that jump shot, and then lock him down. He puts the ball on the floor and send a lot of attackers at him, and that's what they're doing. And it's not his game tonight so far.
So I mean, you know Tim Kendrick very well. He's an exceptionally experienced coach at many levels, high school as well as university, and now the pro level. what's going to be his message to his team at the half, other than the obvious?
Listen, I think I think the frustration level I don't think is going to be terribly high. Look, they're coming off a game they played really, really well, and they came in here tonight. And I think not that this is going to go into his message, but I think this is part of his mindset is, look, sometimes you're going to catch a really good team off a couple losses, really upset, playing really well. I think he's just going to concentrate on what am I supposed to do? What is going to be my message for my team going through the season? Let's emphasize what the game plan is going to be, what the game plan was at the start. Let's not change anything. Let's just do our stuff better than we did in the first half.
And for the Moncton Magic, if you're Coach Joe Salerno, is his message anything other than if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Yeah, look, he's got to be. Look, guys, obviously this is what I've envisioned for you guys. This type of half. I think it's got to come back to do the little stuff though. They kept balls alive. They dug in defensively. They got deflections. I mean, the threes and the open court play and all that stuff is great, but let's do the little stuff, the stuff that's going to win us games 4 or 5 months from now. Okay, let's concentrate on doing that stuff and not worry so much about hey, it's a great emotional lift. This is a big game for the Magic and exactly the start that they were looking for.
Well, in that half, the Magic, on their 61 points, shot 25 of 48 from the floor for just over 52%. The Island Storm, for their 36 points, 15 of 46 for only 32.6%. So again, sometimes stats can tell you the story. And the last one before we sign off, there's so many stats that you can look at in all sports, and basketball is no different. And it's a game of two halves, but if you look at some numbers, the Island Storm, they are averaging through a couple of games 108 points a game. They're on pace to get 72. On the other hand, the Moncton Magic, through just a couple of games again, but averaging 102.5 points, they're on pace to get 122. Now again, second half could be a different story, but right now everything going the way of the Magic.
But that's the message of Joe Salerno. Let's not make this game a tale of two halves. Let's make the story when the sun comes up tomorrow not a close win by the Magic in a needed game, but the fact that they ran away once they got out to this big lead and just kept pushing it.
Well, we've got some nice local entertainment here at the Moncton Coliseum. We'll step aside and take a break. You're watching the NBL Canada live right here from the Moncton Coliseum. After 2 quarters of play, it's the home side, Moncton Magic, with a 61-36 lead over the visitors from Prince Edward Island, the Island Storm. I'm Scott Squires. My broadcast partner is David Tingley. We're going to step aside and be back with second half action in about 10 minutes. We'll see you then. Welcome back to the Moncton Coliseum. Scott Squires, David Tingley, and our Moncton Magic broadcast team here on NBL Canada Live. Getting ready for second half action between the home side Moncton Magic and the visitors from Prince Edward Island, the Island Storm. These two teams met just a couple of nights ago. The Island Storm came out on top of a 120 to 116 decision there, but so far in this one, the Moncton Magic well on their way to getting a little bit of revenge, you would think. 61-36 after one half. A pretty good performance overall for the Magic in that half.
Well, they're showing the highlights here on the big screen above us, and there's lots of them. They've been running for a few minutes now, and they haven't run out of any plays yet. I mean, they're just a lot of pretty stuff to watch. Attacking the rim, great ball movement. That's one thing we didn't talk a lot about in the first half there, Scott, is just the ball movement. And that is, again, a function of, yes, a little bit of coaching from Coach Salerno, I'm sure, but also just a little bit of comfort. I know where my guy's going to be when I throw that pass. And the ball movement was stellar in the first half.
Another big stat in that half, the Magic out-rebounded the Storm 37-16. So we'll see if they pick up where they left off. Mitchell gets it out now to Thomas. Thomas for the Magic from well outside, nails the three, and a good start to the second half for Thomas and the Magic.
Yeah, when Terry's got that game going, along with the other parts of it, it's pretty much just throw your hands up and hope.
So we'll see what Coach Tim Kendrick and his Island Storm have done in terms of adjustments here in this second half. They've got a long way to go, but guys like Franklin Session can make it happen. Valier fighting underneath, the native of Boston, Massachusetts.
That's just a great game plan. You just lay off Sessions, lay off Sessions, lay off, and then when he goes to that spin move, he's spinning into more defense.
So just early going here, and Valier picks up the foul.
I'm pretty surprised to see Mitchell start the second half as well with his 4 fouls, but a little continuity for Coach Salerno, I think, going with the same 5 in the first and second half.
It's a second foul on Zach Valier for the Storm. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Stewart to Anderson. Veteran, talented backcourt, no doubt about it. To Stewart now. Stewart puts it on the floor against Stringer. Stewart with Valier right behind him, charged in toward the bucket, lost the handle.
Not sure how he didn't earn a trip to the foul line there. Valier was completely out of position and backing his way into him, but a lot of bodies in the paint there. Sometimes things get missed.
So this is Stringer, Andre Stringer from Jackson, Mississippi, attended Louisiana State University, or the LSU. Session from well outside, Session looking for the 3 ball, and he gets the friendly roll. So Session hits the 3 and chats with Anderson on the way down the court.
He shouldn't do any chatting. Friendly roll doesn't even begin to describe the break he got on that.
Nice dish inside there as they feed Mitchell, and Mitchell puts that one home.
Really soft hands on Tim Mitchell. Another one of the things that the guards got to love about the big man in the middle.
Williams now out guarding on Session. Session, you should have seen the dribbling drill he was doing prior to the game. He gets that ball inside, tries to put it up against the defensive Mitchell, comes right back to him, and then Thomas put a shoulder into Session, and Session went sliding about 10 feet on his rear end across the floor.
And again, another defensive possession, about 5 more deflections for the Magic.
Anderson from distance, no good. Session back the other way. Valier inside, used every bit of his 6 foot 10-inch frame, and then it goes to Session, and Session hits from outside, and Session starting off well here in this second half.
Now we can talk. That was pretty.
66-42. It's still a big lead for the Magic, although the Storm trying to ride the wave here of Franklin Session to start this second half. He's hit a couple of bombs from outside. Williams now will try and return the favor. No good. Comes down to the hands of Mitchell again. Great job by getting the rebounds by the Magic. Stewart takes a little screen there, and Williams tries to step around his man. It goes to the other side. Anderson in through a crowd, comes down to Mitchell. Little baby jump there, and Williams awkwardly goes up but gets a hand on it and directs it in. So nice work there from Jeremy Williams.
And Jeremy's a very savvy player. He just planted himself where he knew that ball was going to come off if there was a miss.
Stringer, nice look to Valier as he dished it off inside. Valier scoops it right back to Stringer. Johnson from downtown hits that ball all the way from Summerside.
That was a really smart play by Stringer. Stringer had him earlier, but put the ball on the floor to bring the defense closer to him and give even more space to his teammate to get that off.
16 seconds on the shot clock now as Stewart brings it back. Valliere, definite mismatch in size as he came out on Stewart, and then the ball ends up going toward midcourt, and then Johnson and Stewart got in a good one-on-one, and now we see some jawing again. And we've seen the two 13s come together before. Thomas for the Magic and Maxwell for the Storm. They had some jawing going in the first half, and they're getting reacquainted here in the second.
Yeah, they're just settling on which address can I send that Christmas card to again? Where are you living now?
I've got this fruitcake that I've had for about 8 years. It's your turn to have it.
That's more like it, yeah.
So 68-45, 23 points. And from a psychological standpoint, Session again for 3. You got to believe that the Storm want to get it inside of 20. I know it sounds funny, but psychologically, if they could do that, then they'll work on the next 10. Thomas misses that dash through the lane, and here comes Maxwell back the other way. Lost the handle. Here's Thomas now. Maxwell from behind. Tough over the back of Thomas and Maxwell. You could see that coming from about 20 feet away as Thomas charged to the basket, and Maxwell, Mad Max, was coming hard from behind, and there was contact.
They're going to give him the unsportsmanlike foul. They're going to say blow to the back of the head. And probably well-deserved. And I think the refs are doing a really good job here. They have let the physical play go. They've let the talking go because it hasn't gone past a certain point. You get a hard foul like that, you let it go without an intentional, that might ramp things up a little more. You give them that call, might calm things down a little. I think they're doing a pretty solid job here with this stuff tonight. It's an intense matchup.
So Thomas will head to the line to shoot the technical. And then it'll be possession Magic. 68-45, again, the 23-point lead. Thomas has that go off the front of the rim. He's not happy with himself. Still kind of grimacing. I think he's still feeling the after effects of that collision.
Yeah, tough to make a shot when you're seeing stars sometimes, maybe.
No problem with that one. And right away after that play, the veteran coach Tim Kendrick came out to have a little word with number 13 in orange, Devon Maxwell. And it was interesting, talking to Coach Tim Kendrick before, I said, you've coached high school and college for a long time. I go, what's kind of been the biggest adjustment? And he said, the time. He said the extra 8 minutes in a game. He said game planning for that. He said you wouldn't think, but it makes a huge difference. As we see Stewart give it off to Williams. Williams looking to go strong to the bucket, and he runs right into Johnson. And Johnson will take the foul there. But just to finish that thought, Kendrick was saying, in high school and all through my AUS college career, it was 40 minutes. He goes, game planning for that extra 8 minutes, he goes, it's really a lot tougher than I thought.
Yeah, and on the other end of that, I asked him a similar question. On the other end of that, he said, it's still basketball. In the end, it's still the same. It's the old scene from Hoosiers, the regulations.
That's right.
The rim is still 10 feet from the ground. It's all the same thing. So he's seen it. He's kind of, but that's him. He's a very, very cerebral guy. And he's an X's and O's guy, but he's also a players coach, and that's what makes him so strong. He's got a handle on all the aspects of dealing with the players.
First trip to the line for Williams. He misses the first. He's got 4 points on the night, hits the second, so that's 5 points on the evening for Jay Will, the young man from the University of Texas, El Paso. Stringer tries to dribble around the one-time or three-time, I guess, defensive player of the year, Al Stewart. Look at Al Stewart from behind. Quick hands, my goodness.
Those hands again.
Gives it off to Anderson from outside. Anderson, front of the rim. And trying to get the rebound was Maxwell, and it went off of Maxwell and out of bounds. Or I guess it went off of Thomas.
And Al's telling 8AA, shoot it again next time I give it to you.
7:33 to go here in the quarter. Session goes up against Anderson. Good matchup there. Anderson out on Session. Session gives it to States, over for Johnson. Little behind the back pass to Maxwell. Maxwell goes in against Mitchell, goes to the right hand from about 4 feet. Nice touch there from Mad Max, Devon Maxwell.
Coach Salerno says to Mitchell, it's too easy. And he's not asking his player to play soft with the 4 fouls. He's saying, be as tough as you can be.
Nice steal there, and I was about to give him credit for the steal, but I think they're going to call the foul on Maxwell. And overcome Session to say, wait a second, how is that a foul?
Well, sometimes you get it clean and sometimes you don't. And Brent Stocker's a veteran ref. He's not going to let anything get to him.
Well, right or wrong, sometimes certain places, certain areas have a connotation or a feel about them. And if you had told me after watching Franklin Session for a while that he's from Los Angeles, from LA, I'm like, yeah, he kind of seems like an LA guy. He got a little kind of a cool swag to him. attended college at Weber State in Ogden, Utah, but I know Coach Kendrick more than pleased with what he's seen from Franklin Session.
I mean, we've seen a lot of him talking out there on the court, but I mean, that might give you a little image of what kind of guy he is, but Coach Kendrick couldn't say enough nice things about him as a gentleman, as a player in the locker room, as a presence in the community. Talked about him on the phone to his kids every day. Like you can't say enough good stuff about him.
Yeah, 100%. He said, don't let the demeanor that you may see on the floor fool you. He said he is a true gentleman off the court, and as much as any coach I've ever talked to, that's something that really resonates with Tim Kendrick, is when someone is an even better person away from the court than they are on it.
Yeah, and he's really pleased with the team as a whole in that way. A young group, he calls them, that are incredibly nice to deal with in this first year here in the pro ranks.
So Coach Joe Salerno liking what he sees from his Moncton Magic, leaving Mitchell in the game. Mitchell has the 4 fouls, but seems to have settled into a bit of a more offensive rhythm and a little more away from the foul side of the game, at least to this point. 6:40 to go in the third quarter. Swings it out to Maxwell. Nice ball movement on the outside. Session from downtown, short, and, well, you would expect the crowd would give him the old air ball chant, and certainly does there as Session gets it.
A Bronx cheer on a Saturday night in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Stewart now slowing it down again. Gives it to Anderson. Session out on him.
Pretty look.
Yeah, it's a great dish inside to Williams, and coming over strong defensively is number 7, Brad States. And it's always important to have family support. Had a chance earlier to talk to Brad's aunt, Francine. She lives here.
Lady.
Very nice. She was having some onion rings in the crowd. And she said, Brad called me, said, you coming to see me play? So Brad States, he's got his Aunt Francine here, and actually Brad's mom and dad, Glenn and Diane, are back home in PEI watching Brad's sister Brittany play volleyball this evening for the Holland College Hurricanes, part of the Atlantic Collegiate Athletic Association. So, as you see quite often in athletics, an athletic family.
Yeah, not shocking that the genes that created the athlete that is Brad would have an athletic sister too.
And Brad comes in there to try and get that ball off the rim. So the ball will go possession Moncton. Things have kind of slowed a little bit here in the last couple of minutes. 73-47.
The Magic are happy to have that. A little back and forth. Even Stevens okay with them in the third quarter with a 26-point lead.
Stewart now gets it to the corner for Williams. Stringer on him. Williams just steps back, decides to put the shot up. Right there for the rebound is Cox. And Cox from well underneath the backboard scoops it in, and Coach Joe Salerno likes that.
He is an absolute load on the offensive glass. Every shot that goes up, he's preparing himself. You got to box him out. He's not going to give you anything.
And Session puts it on the floor. Nice dish inside. Quick ball movement coming off the baseline with States. Got some defensive pressure, and it's turned back over to the Magic. Anthony Anderson. Fake the pass, puts it on the floor, takes it inside. Dish to Williams, and look at that. My goodness. Great ball movement. Nice pass inside, and Williams with the finish for the Magic.
Double A, just so crafty and clever. He knows. He's like a chess player that sees things 5 moves ahead.
Session, the crowd chanting defense. Session, he just looks like a ball player when he goes into that shooting motion, even though he didn't hit that one. He's a fun player to watch. Number 6 in orange, Franklin Session.
But he's going to have to come out. He's going to have to create new ways to score, because the Magic have decided he's not a shooter. They're not going to play him at all as a shooter. He's got to come up with something else.
Maxwell gets it back to Williams to Anderson, and then dished it inside to Stewart. Look at Williams. Williams right now is feeling it. And I had a chance to talk to him before the game, and it was interesting. We had a great chat while they were shooting around, and he told me that he used to play the saxophone, he said, of all things. And there's a nice shot there from Stringer, but right now he may not have a saxophone in his hand, but he's playing some sweet music in the paint for the Magic. My goodness.
And he's indicative. We talked about him being a kind of a prototypical player that you just want. If you were going to draw a player up for this league, it'd look pretty similar to Jeremy Williams. That length, versatility, shooting ability, ball handling, the whole 9 yards.
Thomas in a crowd gets it to Anderson from way downtown, and that would have been something if he had to hit it. And on the rebound, everybody kind of stopped, just kind of froze, and, well, Al Stewart says, fine, I'll take it and put it home.
everybody on the Magic, they're playing smart ball as well as using their talent. Everything, not giving up on any plays, and Al was the one that kept his eye on the ball and got himself in the right position. And that's the story of the Magic tonight. Their talent is overwhelming the Storm, sure, but they're working harder than the Storm are at the same time.
Well, Maxwell had a nice bucket moments ago for the Storm, and then the nice feed inside to Cox, and Cox answers right back. 83-51, 32-point bulge. Stringer puts up the 18-footer. Maxwell with the board. States gives it back to Maxwell. Maxwell calmly puts it from the free throw line. No going there, and right back come the Magic again, dominating on the glass underneath. 3:25 to go. Here's Stewart now, putting it on the floor. Mikolo watching him. Tried to get it over top to Cox. Good defense there, and then a foul committed. And that one, it wouldn't have counted, but it would have been fun if that had to went in.
And Al, just another example of how savvy and veteran and crafty he is. Didn't get frustrated with his turnover. Knew the smart play there was to grab the Island Storm to prevent the fast break. And covering Anthony Cox a little bit because he's had such a strong game here tonight in the last few minutes. Before the season, Coach Salerno talked to me a little bit about how, and the season ticket holders actually at that opening event that the team had, talked a little bit how Anthony was an example of a guy that he looked around the league and went, he's stuck in a situation where he's not getting the minutes that he maybe deserves. The Halifax front court situation still is very crowded, a lot of talent in that front court. And Anthony was by no making of his own, just stuck in a situation. 5 good players looking for minutes is a tough nut to crack, and he just went with a place that he thought might give him some more minutes, and Coach Salerno is happy to give him the opportunity, as you can see here tonight.
Well, we have been talking about it for the weeks leading up to the season and through the first couple of games, that a team on paper really doesn't mean anything, but you truly believed that looking at the talent up and down this roster, including the infusion of some very good rookies, that if and when this Moncton Magic team put it together, they could certainly challenge for the upper echelon of the NBL this season. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I think if you polled NBL watchers there before the start of the season about, on paper, who was the best looking squad, I think you would have got a lot of votes for Moncton in that area, and just when they poached such talented players from all the teams around them, and then brought in brand new guys and kept around the centerpiece of the team last year, Tim Mitchell. So they just such a strong team from top to bottom on paper, and they're showing why tonight.
So just over 3 minutes to go in this third quarter. A very comfortable lead for the Magic as Tyler Scott steps back. That jump shot no good.
Almost too many players hustling to the ball for the Magic tonight.
While I got a minute, I want to give a shout out to some minor basketball players from around the greater Moncton area. The Moncton Magic doing a great job of incorporating youth basketball here, whether it's retrieving balls during shoot-around or doing various tasks during the game. And some players in attendance tonight from the Moncton Hawks Bantam basketball team. Dustin and Matthew are here, and the coach of the Moncton Hawks is Owen Vibert. And also some members of the Moncton Kiwanis Minor Basketball Association. The undefeated Huskies have a couple of players here, Morgan and Enzo. So
now there was some discussion on whether they're 4-0 or 62-0.
Well, we think Enzo might have been going back to summer ball 3 years ago.
I think so, yeah. He was bringing up a lot of extra games there, yeah.
But great to see those young basketball players here. And what an experience for them to be in this atmosphere around pro basketball players and being around these guys. That's only going to help grow the game of basketball at a grassroots level in all of the communities where the NBL is.
Yeah, and the ownership is really, really committed to that. No, don't just play lip service to it, and it's nice to see.
So some new personnel on the floor for the Magic. This is Corey Almond. He's out there with Terrell Baines, Marquise Clayton. This is Baines now. He's got that ball, gets it to Almond from outside. He was hot early in the game. Thomas flies in for the rebound and gets the put-back bucket. Terry Thomas doing what he's done all game long, and that is be a force.
And the physicality is destroying the Island Storm tonight as well. The Moncton Magic, that athleticism and size and length on display at every position.
States from outside as Mikolo had nowhere to go, dumped it outside to States. Marquise Clayton back the other way. The shifty Clayton tried to get into the corner for Almond, but it was picked off there by Dyke Jr. And Tyler Scott down the floor for the easy putback.
And that's been Marquise's Achilles heel a little bit early. getting himself up in the air and then trying to make a decision. And that's something that he's got to get reined in a little bit, but we talked about it. Coach Salerno's on him every chance he gets, and that's why.
Well, that was a half Euro step back by Terry Thomas, a hybrid move there from number 13, the former St. FX X-Men player.
I don't think he's left a weapon in his bag yet tonight. I think he's brought all of them out.
Corner three from State's no good, and now this Moncton Magic team, you know they're going to play hard to the end, but with a 87-53 lead, we'll see if they take the pedal off the gas, although knowing Coach Salerno and the way things have gone the first couple of games, I would expect the Magic to just keep going and force the Storm to stop them.
And listen, with a squad that they got from top to bottom, there's only so much taking it off the gas pedal you can do. But we are going to see probably a couple of guys, if it stays this length that we haven't seen a lot of so far. But I mean, he goes pretty deep here, does Coach Salerno, even in competitive matchups.
Terry Thomas with 22 points on the night, 5 of 7 from the line, make that 5 of 8 now. Thomas, the leading scorer in the game at the 22-point mark. Chris Johnson still leading the way for the Storm with 13. And Thomas goes 1 for 2 on that trip, making it 6 for 9 on the night, and that's 23 points now for Terry Thomas as he checks out of the game. And coming in is the Toronto, Ontario native Ashanti Day. He attended Union University in Jackson, Tennessee, did number 24 in white. Quick zip pass to McColo, outside for 3, and McColo, he can heat up from outside. He's got the range, and 22 in orange finds the mark there.
And it's a pretty jumper. He's just got that great form, that rise and fire, and he's got a good size to get it off.
Baines now for Marquise Clayton. Clayton, nice pass inside to Cox. Over to Baines. Baines being watched there by Tyler Scott. Look at Baines. My goodness, spinorama in the paint along the baseline. Holy moly.
Just dancing with those feet. I talked about the dance moves of Jeremy Williams earlier. That was pretty.
And Tyler Scott makes a move to the right, cuts it in toward the basket. There to meet him defensively was Day, and Scott draws the foul, and he'll go to the line. That was Baines actually committing the foul underneath the bucket. 90-56, a 34-point advantage.
That's another aspect of their defense that they've probably emphasized here. Not letting teams have layups. There's been some instances where I think Coach Lerner's been a little bit displeased with guys getting to the rim. There's been no shots at the rim tonight that haven't been challenged by a man in white.
Scott hits the second. That's 5 points on the night now for Tyler Scott. Marquise Clayton now being watched by Aussie. Clayton puts on the speed, gets by Aussie, dumps it to Allman from well outside the three-point arc, and Day, long rebound, controls it, fresh 24. Marquise Clayton now has McColo well out on him. Cox comes over to run a little screen. Clayton puts it on the floor, zips it over to the corner for Allman for 3. Yes! Corey Allman, deadly from the corner.
What a gorgeous dime from Marquise Clayton. Wrapped it around a defender with the left hand on the money.
Trying to answer back was Dyke Jr. Nothing doing there. The quarter comes to an end, and much of the same in quarter number 3 as we had in 1 and 2. A nice performance from the Magic, and they are very comfortably ahead. 36 points is the lead, 93-57.
And you saw the whole coaching staff and the bench rise up at that buzzer. Marquise Clayton coming to the bench to give him some dap on that feed. It's just a beautiful feed, a Steve Nash-esque kind of left-handed kick to the corner. You can see the guys are really on board with each other and really supportive. And a guy, and we talked a little bit in the first game too about Marquise. He didn't let errors affect either his body language or his game. He came right back and did the same thing.
Well, through 3 quarters, this 93-57 lead, the Moncton Magic have continued to shoot well all game long, still above 50%, just about 51.5% from the floor. And I've kind of set you up here to comment on one of the keys that Coach Salerno talked about for his team tonight. You actually talked about it with Jeremy Williams as well in the interview you did that would air during the halftime. But offensively, Coach Salerno said for his team, make shots. If you're Coach Salerno right now and you knew that your team was shooting almost 51.5% through 3 quarters, how would you feel?
Well, listen, if you get 50%, if you're shooting 50% from the paint, you're having a good night. If you're shooting 51% overall, then good on you. And what's the percentage from I'd be interested in the percentage from the three-point line. That's
7 of 20 for 35.
Yeah, see, and that's a little bit more like it. We were looking at percentages in the 20s the first couple of games, and they're really loosening things. And still, there's a couple of there's the shots that they've missed have been wide open shots from players that make wide open shots. So still not all those shots are falling, and we're up here at 93 on the board at the end of three quarters.
And, you know, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes teams are going to run into another team that's kind of a juggernaut, and, you know, you kind of got that feeling that the Magic were going to be chomping at the bit tonight. Field goal percentage from the floor right now, the Island Storm only shooting 34.8%. To me right now, and we've mentioned rebounding all night long, probably one of the most staggering statistics through three quarters. Total rebounds, 55 to 19.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable to watch the physical imposition that the Magic are putting on the Storm. Now, don't get this Storm team is not 40 points worse than this Magic squad, but when the Magic squad, with this level of physicality that they have, an advantage that they have over a lot of teams when they impose their will, this is how it's going to look from time to time.
And Clayton hit the deck hard underneath the pressure from Aussie, and then Allman put the long shot up. That was no good. And then Aussie right back the other way. Now he and Clayton come together, and this could get ugly.
Let's hope at him too.
Let's hope that cooler heads prevail here. That was a dangerous-looking play. I just think it was some aggressive defense by Aussie trying to track it down from behind. And he and Clayton, though, at the other end of the floor had come together, and Aussie had run into Clayton. Clayton went down to the deck when Allman put that long shot up, and then in transition, Marquise Clayton, as he's known to do, went coast to coast with, you know, trying to drive the lane. Aussie aggressive from behind, and then, you know, the chairs in behind are very close to the baseline, and it was just a pile of players in behind. And you know what? A good job by the referees, but even more so the players policing themselves there and not letting it get out of hand. And I think now we've had somebody teed up.
Yeah, I think, they gave him a chance. Calm it down, calm it down, calm it down. You know, I like a refereeing squad that uses the technical as a last resort, and they've done a pretty good job of being reserved and using it only when they needed to. And they've used it now twice tonight in situations that were important. But what I saw there was Aussie driving straight down the middle, opening the ball up a little bit to Marquise, and Marquise super aggressively grabbing at that ball with two hands. And I could see Aussie objecting to the physicality of it in the moment. And then, like you say, with the chairs being so close, you fly into some chairs that it kind of amps things up. And there was some pushing and shoving.
And Terrell Baines, who was certainly very emotional, wanting to defend his teammate Marquise Clayton. You can almost hear him saying, coming up the floor, back toward the Moncton bench, "Hey, that's my teammate. I'm going to stand up for him."
Yep.
And then kind of looked over at Coach Salerno, and I think he was trying to convince Coach not to take him out of the game. And then he and Coach Salerno, off to the side, had a bit of a chat. And now the two coaches are going to come together and have a chat with Paul Hansen here. So the referees making sure that this doesn't get out of hand, because the score, is pretty much in favor of the Magic, and I'm sure the referees at this point don't want this to boil over.
And I think both coaches would strongly agree with the referees that let's just get through this last 11 minutes and 44 seconds and get home and work on your stuff, but let's not let this stuff amp up and get out of hand, and God forbid an injury takes place.
And a lot of mutual respect amongst the head coaches in this league, and the two coaches coming together, listening intently. I think Coach Joe Salerno from the Magic maybe a little less liking, I guess, what he's hearing right now.
I don't think he's liking what he's hearing, the explanation, but.
And Tim Kendrick, on the other hand, is listening very intently. So we'll wait now for the official Paul Hansen to kind of relay all this to the official scorekeeper, and then we'll get the announcement over the public address system. And again, Coach Joe Salerno, looking at Coach Salerno right now, if you didn't know the score, you wouldn't think that the Magic were up big.
Yeah, and that's what you got to do in this league. You can't sit back and, my night is over because we're up by 36 points. There's always coaching to be done. You want your players to play the right way. I mean, it's a cliche, but he's looking at 3, 4, 5 months down the road to playoff time. Okay, he's looking to build towards that. He's not as concerned about whether this game is going to be 30-point spread or a 10-point spread.
And, you know, there's a reason why these two coaches are here. They're very veteran coaches. They're very good coaches. But certainly for Coach Joe Salerno, the fans of the Moncton Magic and the Moncton Magic themselves, very fortunate to have the NBL's winningest coach, first coach ever to get to 100 wins in this league. His team is up big. Things are going his way. But when he saw something happen that he felt wasn't in favor of his team, he was there, and he was putting in his 2 cents, and he was coaching this moment regardless of score.
Yeah, and that sends a message to your players as well. Okay, that sends a message to your players that I've got your back no matter the situation, and he's got no choice in that situation, and he's going to continue to fight even though the spread is what it is.
So again, and now Joe Salerno getting quite heated right in front of us. There you see. He is not happy at all with the call. Arms spread wide. And now Coach Salerno, 6 or 7 feet out onto the floor, has been teed up by Paul Hansen.
And I think he's really objecting because it seems to me like and we haven't gotten word that but Marquise has been kicked out of the game.
So I don't want to assume here, but from what I can sound like, it sounds like Coach Salerno is saying that Marquise Clayton got taken out hard into the stands, but it's Marquise Clayton who has been teed up and tossed from the game. And I think, David, that is what Coach Salerno is taking umbrage with, is that Marquise Clayton was the one that, in Coach Salerno's view, was taken aggressively into the chairs behind the end line, but he is the one out. It's Aussie who's shooting the technicals, and Clayton out of the game, and now Salerno, because of feeling that way, has been teed up himself.
But so often it's that second reaction that gets you the extra in the minds of the referee. And so, yeah, Aussie did go aggressively at him, and they went into the chairs, but it's that second reaction. Marquise hopped up and gave him a shot, gave him a push, and that's what's going to stick out a lot of times to the referees.
Fans of the NBL, if this is the first time watching it, never a dull moment in this league, and if you're a regular fan of the league, well, you know that regardless of score, regardless of time of the game, there's always something entertaining happening in this league. It's a great league. It's very entertaining. So I think you've got some information there, David, that you had passed you from. It's almost like when you see a brawl in hockey and it takes 10 minutes for the official to sort everything out, as the Magic work up the floor now with a 93-63 lead.
Yeah, we'll clarify it at the next break here, exactly what happened.
Almond goes baseline, puts the little runner up, comes down into the hands of Taylor, and again, some aggressive D.
Taylor again, just making things happen when he stepped onto the floor so far in minutes for the Magic. So it's so Marquise was given an unsportsmanlike, 2 unsportsmanlike fouls, and ejected, and then Aussie was given an unsportsmanlike, a technical, but not ejected, and then we had
Terrell
Baines with a technical, and then of course Joe Salerno's technical as well. So that sorts everything out.
So a 30-point lead, Ashanti Day to Allman, corner 3, back of the rim, rebounded there by Taylor. Look at Taylor, now a big fight, and down to the deck goes Trinity Burdine.
And another new entry there for the Magic. Kevin Farrell-Thomas crashing the boards as well. So these guys that come up from the deep bench.
And now we've got Tim Kendrick, not to be outdone. And I think that Kendrick may have been teed up just then.
No, they gave him a timeout. They're walking away and giving him a chance to settle down.
And Tim Kendrick, not the first time I've heard his voice, but the first time at the professional ranks. I've heard it plenty of times at the Atlantic University sport level with the UPEI Panthers, and now, moments ago, it was Joe Salerno, and now it's Tim Kendrick in the ear of the official. So,
but again,
who would think with a 30-point lead in the fourth quarter that it would be so eventful?
You gotta coach the game. You gotta coach your guys. You gotta, and look, they're gonna see these referees again as well. So a lot of the coaching goes into. They're staking out their reputation with the refs as well. So it's something that, but the refs I think are doing a pretty solid job in a pretty tough circumstance. I think they've stayed pretty calm. They give the referees a chance to vent, and they earn their technicals, and they've done that so far.
Well, that's another thing. You're absolutely right. You know, a lot of the officials, at least in this region, that do NBL games are also officials that do Atlantic University sport, and I've gotten to know a lot of these officials. Certainly Brian States and Paul Hansen I'm quite familiar with, and they're quality officials.
Yep. And Brent Stalker, the third one, is a guy that I know very well from the province of New Brunswick. You see him come out on the floor, you're always breathe a little sigh of relief. Okay, Brent's here. It's going to be all right.
So let's reset. We've had some technicals handed out. Aussie on the Island Storm got one. Marquise Clayton got a couple. He's out of the game, the rookie for the Magic. Coach Joe Salerno got teed up. And through it all, there's 10:48 to go in the game. The Moncton Magic lead by 30, and a couple of new players on the floor, some fresh personnel. Doot, another University of Prince Edward Island Panther product on the floor, wearing 15 in orange. A delightful young man and a pretty darn good player as well. Keep an eye on him. Ball goes through the paint. McColo is there, reached in for it. Now Tyler Scott, another Panther, goes down to the floor against Ashante Day. And we've mentioned it a couple of times, but while we have a sec, should mention, I've talked about the 5 players. Between these two teams, it's very special that there are 5 Atlantic University sport players on these rosters.
Yep.
The Moncton Magic, as mentioned, have Terry Thomas, who played for St. FX University. They have Marquise Clayton, who played for St. Mary's. And as we see McColo go for this ball, Al Stewart comes in from behind, and that goes out of bounds. And then on the Island Storm, 3 former University of Prince Edward Island Panther players, Brad States, Doot, as we just mentioned, as well as Tyler Scott. So, that's another great thing about this league is it gives these players that play in Atlantic Canada at the university level an outlet to go to the next level.
Yeah, for sure. And you're only going to expect that number to rise from here. And look at those hands from Al.
My goodness, McColo gets back. Stewart goes right up against him, calmly to the right hand. Nice follow there from Ashante Day, but he won't get the call.
Climb in the back, yep. And
so
listen, we started to get into it a little bit before about how we talked about in the game like this, the benches getting cleaned out. Really, the minutes that almost all of these Magic players get is pretty significant. The only two names that we haven't seen a lot of, probably Ashante Day and Kevin Farrell-Thomas, and we've seen their athleticism and getting after it here on the offensive boards and at the defensive end. It bodes well for the depth of this squad.
Tyler Scott, little step back 3 off the front of the rim. Nice job of getting the rebound. Stringer from well downtown gets it to roll around and goes in for the tray.
He's got that in the gym range that you like from your shooting guard.
Go back the other way. Under 10 minutes to play here in this 4th quarter. Farrell-Thomas over to Ashante Day. Corey Allman dishes it in past Farrell-Thomas. He could have knit a sweater under there. He had so much time, and he puts the bucket in from right underneath the hoop and gets the deuce.
But a nice cut, and you just see the comfortable nature, the comfort level that's being built up here with this team.
Nice bounce pass to Allman. He could hit from there. Front of the rim, back of the rim. Tyler Scott the other way. Day from behind. Tyler Scott, no good. And then a trifecta of Magic defenders grab that rebound. And again, look at Al Stewart, the veteran, logging all kinds of minutes here.
And great hustle by Ashante Day again. That could have easily been, well, that's going to be a layup, but he got back and bothered enough.
And look at that. Farrell-Thomas on the nice little dish inside from the veteran Al Stewart. Takes it strong to the basket. And the Magic just continuing to play their game, even with the big lead.
Yeah, and great movement without the ball so far there by Farrell-Thomas, who seems to squeeze into those spaces, make himself available.
And I want to give a big shout out to someone who is now becoming a regular here with the Moncton Magic broadcast. Well, she's a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers, so I'll forgive her for that.
All right, we'll let that go, yeah.
But she was on board the other night during the St. John's Edge game. It's Stephanie Trejo. I hope I'm saying your last name right, Stephanie. But she is from North Carolina. She was chatting with me via message on Twitter earlier. And she's also a certified K-12 teacher in Spanish, history, and English. And she's quite fluent in Spanish, so perhaps I'm saying Trejo the right way. But again, we will forgive her for being a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. But
well, yeah, she keeps telling me how smart I am. I'm gonna forgive her. She can be a fan of whoever she wants.
I'm gonna swear to the Celtics before it's all over.
There you go.
See, she's already a Moncton Magic fan, so we've already got one convert.
We've swayed her, yeah. So I shouldn't try to interest her in the Bulls. You don't think?
Oh heavens, no! Not after last night. I think they lost by 50 points to the Golden State Warriors.
We lose. Don't we lose by 50 points every night?
Stringer from well downtown. He was almost at half court when he let that go, and good follow by number 3, Trinity Burdine. young man from Reading, Pennsylvania, who attended Holland College. We referenced Holland College earlier in the broadcast, and that's where the young man, Trinity Burdine, attended school over in Prince Edward Island.
And while we're on the topic of social media, you guys can hit us up there. You gave your Twitter handle out earlier. Mine's @HoopsTingley. Pretty simple. So hit us up there, guys, anytime. We'll check the Twitter feed, and you guys got something to say or something to ask or a valued opinion, we'll certainly talk about it on air.
So 8:21 left to go in the game here. 96-66, 30 points, and it's been a double-digit plus lead here for some time, since probably about midway through the first quarter, David, and the Magic just haven't looked back.
Yeah, and they've kept the foot on the gas. They've executed well. The defensive intensity stayed up. I mean, this anytime you can keep an opposing team under 100 in this league, you're doing well. And Ashante Day rising fire. And there he is again.
Ashante Day will get it back. He's being watched by Johnson.
Denzel Taylor, his offensive rebounds per minute played he's going to be a stats geek.
Farrell Thomas from downtown, the lefty, couldn't get it to go, and Stringer now will carry it back up the floor for the Island Storm. Over to the wing. Maxwell has it there. Long dish back outside to Doot. Doot thought about it, but then gives it off to Johnson. Johnson steps into the paint, little runner off the front of the iron, and grabbed there nicely by Jeremy Williams. And again into the hands of the young man from Chicago, Illinois, who attended Drake University. The veteran, Al Stewart, goes right to the hit rim. And I'm sure Al Stewart, he's a veteran, but he probably liked the fact that I called him a young man.
A young man.
Because compared to me, he is.
Absolutely.
Everybody on the floor is young compared to me. You kidding?
And you're in the broadcast booth as well, maybe?
Yes, in the broadcast booth as well, David.
So Anthony Cox makes another appearance, continuing his very strong night.
Well, Cox, 10 points on the night as Al Stewart gets the friendly Coliseum roll.
We got two big guy double-doubles already in this game, and Cox in his next rebound will make it 3. Not often you see that.
First trip to the line for Stewart, and 2 for 2. That gives him 9 points on the night. Getting contributions up and down the lineup are the Magic this evening. Terry Thomas still leading all scorers with 23, but Corey Allman with 16, Tim Mitchell with 11, Jeremy Williams with 10, as well as Cox has 10. And on the other side, Chris Johnson, 13 for the Island Storm. Franklin Sessions with 12, Devon Maxwell with 10, the leading scorers for the Island Storm. 7:19 to go. Stringer being watched there. Good defense by Taylor. Inside, Valier couldn't get a handle on it, but it's taken by Maxwell. And Maxwell threw it off of the defender, Williams. Goes out of bounds off Jeremy, and it'll be, I believe, Island Storm ball out of bounds.
Coach Solano is just clapping his hands enthusiastically with every move this team makes on the defensive end tonight. They look imposing down here.
And again from well outside. I was going to pick somewhere in Prince Edward Island. I think that might have been from the Confederation Bridge. My goodness, that was well outside. And Day back the other way. Rebound chance there, comes down, and look at Al Stewart. My goodness. What a great game this evening for Al Stewart. Dumps it off now to the corner for Day, being watched by Valier.
Shawnee Day not shy at all tonight. Super aggressive.
And there's the Rugrats socks wearing Cox. I got to find out where he got those socks. Those are sweet.
Yeah, you want a pair, I can tell.
I do want a pair. There's no doubt about it. I love Rugrats.
Now, I couldn't get away with the leggings Rugrat socks combo, pink shoes myself. But, you know.
Well, the big man from West Hempstead, New York, who attended Farmingdale State, as mentioned earlier at Nassau, he can wear whatever he wants. At 6'9", 235, I'm not going to argue.
No. Have at it.
6:37 left to play in this game.
And they got a matchup they want down here with Cox.
And just stepping back, letting that smooth jumper go. Couldn't get the range, but he gets it right back. Fresh 24.
There's that third double-double we talked about, and Al's going to give it right back.
And Stewart not happy with that, as a little bit of a nonchalant dribble went off of his ankle and over the half court for the over and back. So turnover will go to the Storm. And at this point, you know, I always hate to talk about a foregone conclusion, but let's be honest. 98-69 with 6:24. More than likely the Moncton Magic are going to rack up their first win here. So if you're Coach Tim Kendrick, what do you use this final 6:20 to do for your squad?
Well, look, you're going to, as McCullough makes another 3, that pretty stroke, I think, look, you got to if you got guys that you haven't seen, because it's all about like this league. It used to be in the start of the league 6, 7, 8 years ago. This was top end talent, yes. Deep, these rosters, not necessarily. That's not the case now. You got deep and talented rosters all over this league. So if you've got guys in the end of your bench, 11th, 12th guys that haven't seen a lot of minutes but got talent, let's see what they got. And Jeremy Williams, a little
he's
favoring his shoulder.
Kind of came over wincing a little bit and grabbing that right shoulder. Coach Joe Salerno now over checking on the young man to make sure he's okay. And Williams definitely in some distress here now as he's kind of grabbing that right shoulder. He's trying to roll it out right literally just to the left of our broadcast position here. So they're going to get him out of the game and get some attention to that shoulder, make sure it's maybe just like a little stinger or a tweak or something.
Yeah, looks like it should be that, but you never know. You don't want to be nonchalant with something like that.
And I just heard from our friend in North Carolina, Stephanie. As much as she enjoys both of us, no way she's changing teams, she says. So she'll keep liking the Cavs, but as long as she likes the Moncton Magic, that's okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. And that is the century mark for the Moncton Magic, 100 points. And it's a 28-point lead, 100-72. This is Johnson. Chris Johnson leading the way in points for the Island Storm tonight. Tried to cut toward the basket and dish. But I think the foul might have been called on Taylor. It is indeed.
Yep.
First foul on Denzel. So a pretty good night here for the Moncton Magic, giving these home fans what they want. Something to cheer about, and very close, 5:33 away from getting their first victory of the year.
Yeah, this is the type of positive momentum kind of game, too, going through the rest of the weekend. This is going to be – Moncton's a small town. It'll get around this margin of victory. It'll look pretty exciting to the fans, and if they were questioning at all, what am I going to do with my Sunday afternoon, well, maybe that'll turn some people around, and we'll get a nice big crowd out here tomorrow.
And as we see Maxwell from the line, missed the first. Great job by the crew here in Moncton getting our broadcast location right on the floor. Some of the conversations and comments are delightful. And Coach Joe Salerno, just over in the ear of Paul Hansen, talking to him about a certain thing. And he just, as he walked away, he said, "That's easy, Paul." I mean, just,
Yep.
the flavor down here on the floor is just wonderful. Taylor now for Baines. Baines from the baseline down to the corner. Couldn't get the range on that one. And back comes Maxwell the other way. Mad Max Maxwell puts the shoulder down and drives right into the midsection of Mitchell. Mitchell goes down to the floor.
And they're going to count the hoop, and that was that's one that you see sometimes. And what Maxwell did a good job with there is he knew he had a really good defender in front of him. He created the contact, but he didn't drop the shoulder or push off. And Denzel just didn't have his feet set, and there was no choice but the referee but to call a block. But again, good minutes from the young man, from the young Canadian.
Yeah, Denzel Taylor, 4 points in his limited appearance. Got his second foul, so he takes a seat on the bench. Not that foul trouble is an issue, but he'll take a seat now after some valuable minutes. Corey Allman back into the game.
And 6 more boards. That rebound to minute stat of his is going to look really nice.
Allman now takes that feed, gives it right back. And Stewart from downtown, that doesn't go. Aussie right there for the rebound. Number 5 in orange, Kemi Aussie, has been kind of in the middle of everything in this second half.
Yes, he has.
An energy guy, no doubt about it.
Yep.
From Montreal, Quebec, attended school down in Little Rock, Arkansas.
And the media timeout here in the fourth quarter with a 24-point spread now, and the Island have brought it back pretty significantly in the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Now, again, still 4:57 to play, but let's take a quick look ahead to tomorrow afternoon. A quick turnaround for the Moncton Magic. They'll welcome the Cape Breton Highlanders in here. And when I spoke to Coach Joe Salerno yesterday, he said, look, that's a quick turnaround, and he wanted to focus on tonight, but he was doing a little bit of a look ahead. How much of a positive is it, I guess, for Coach Salerno and the Magic to have this big lead and to maybe be able to rest some guys down the stretch and maybe be a little fresher for that quick turnaround, 2 o'clock Atlantic tomorrow?
Yeah, and it's kind of a there's 2 ways to look at it. It's kind of a double-sided coin here, because you can say, yeah, great, we got a big lead, we're able to coast to the finish, let's get our guys some rest. But then you have that situation sometimes where the other team's working hard, they don't like the margin of victory, so they push it back a little bit, and you kind of feel like it's a little bit of a blah finish, right? Well, we were up by 35, and they brought it all the way back to 17, and and you don't build any momentum to it. So you get that rest, but you don't keep the momentum. So that's the other thing. He kind of wants to balance that. Get the guys some rest, the important guys, but let's keep the momentum going so we show up here tomorrow and these guys have really been buried by a dominant performance.
Just one other game taking place in the NBL this evening. It is up in Ontario. The Windsor Express currently leading the Halifax Hurricanes, 55-41 the score there at the half. So a pretty good first half for the home team there as well for the Windsor Express.
And Windsor did a great job handling that explosive London Lightning offense in their first matchup, holding Royce White to some very un-league MVP type numbers.
Talk about explosive. Corey Almond explodes to the hoop and gets 2 points for 18 total on the night. A nice drive into the paint there coming from Chris Johnson.
And Corey's had a nice little balance to his game tonight. I mean, he's a shooter from deep, and anybody that likes explosive offense from games from Corey Almond, do yourself a favor. Go to YouTube and Google Corey Almond, Kentucky, and enjoy the offensive explosion he had as a college player in Rupp Arena against the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah. John Calipari coached Kentucky squad. 11 threes and 37 points in a college matchup back in 2009.
So 4:35 left to play. 102-78 your score. Al Stewart now brings it up the floor. He's been running it all night for the Magic. Gives it off to Almond. They'll switch now. Almond goes to the top. Slashes into the lane. Kind of cupped that ball there and carried it like a baby in his arms, and he gets the bucket.
That's what you got to do. When you split that defense, you got to tuck that ball away like it's a football.
Aussie steps back. No good on the three. And look who's there for the rebound. Al Stewart.
Shocking surprise.
Stewart now calm, cool, collected, lips puckered, pointing for his teammates. Gets it over to Baines. McColo on him. Baines backs in McColo, and coming over to help out there defensively was Burdine, and I think Burdine's going to get tagged. Or no, that was 13, not 3. Devon Maxwell helping out on defense there for the Storm.
And Terrell Baines, not huge numbers for him tonight, but we talked about he had struggled with his shooting first couple of games, a little frustrated with his lack of finish, and he's turned that. I think he's got a little bit of a confidence boost after tonight, a couple of really nice finishes at the offensive end.
So Baines to the line now. Misses the first. And just to give fans that are listening some context, we've been referencing one of our fans online, Stephanie Trejo from North Carolina. She's actually a big fan of the St. John's Edge as Almond hits that one again from downtown. My goodness, he's had a nice stroke from outside the arc this evening, and no different right there. We'll finish that thought on Stephanie in just a minute. Aussie now, 13 on the shot clock. McColo being watched by Almond into Doot. Doot backs away, steps back, tried to get the shot up. Comes down to Farrell Thomas, and here comes Baines. Baines strong in there against Burdine. And it looks like he'll draw the foul. So Burdine will draw the foul, but Stephanie is a fan of the St. John's Edge, and she was watching our broadcast the other night because the Magic were playing the Edge, and she is a very close friend of a member of the St. John's Edge, nicknamed Superman, Alex Johnson. They've been friends for quite a long time. She refers to him as Lil Bro. So she was watching the other night and kind of had some good back and forth on Twitter. So for those of you watching wondering why we're referencing Stephanie, she's a fun person. She's a fan of the league. She's a big friend and fan of Superman Johnson from the St. John's Edge.
And you can't blame her.
And you can't blame her indeed.
Superman has got that name for a reason. So I'm a fan of Superman, so I can't blame Stephanie there.
Well, and again, you've talked about it. We would encourage fans as well. You know, social media, it's a great way to interact. Your Twitter handle is @HoopsTingley. Mine is @Joesco, JOHSCO. We'd love to hear from you in interaction all season long. Almond now controlling that ball, 10 on the shot clock, loses the handle. Farrell Thomas right there to pick it up. Only 6 seconds on the shot. Ashanti Day. Nice dish to Baines, and Baines goes up. Tried to get the jam, but gets the bucket anyway. And Baines 2 more. Here's Aussie now from outside. Comes down to Day. Forward to Allman. Well, let's just step back. Put up the 3. Rebound there.
Again, you had too many athletes from the Moncton Magic going for the same rebound.
Valliere grabbed the board, and Aussie now. 13 on the shot clock, 2.5 to go in the 4th quarter. Big lead for the Magic, but Doot can shoot, and he does from outside. Affectionately nicknamed Duty, and he did his duty there as he hits the bucket. He'll be a valuable performer for this team. He can give them some good minutes this season. 15 in orange, Doot. And I did confirm with him because I've heard his name said lots of different ways over the years, but he did confirm. He said it's Doot, like shoot.
Doot like shoot.
And speaking of shoot, Ashanti Day puts up the shot, grabs his own rebound, lost the handle, and Aussie right back coast to coast. Aussie goes to the left hand, can't find pay dirt, and Corey Allman back the other way. 1:45 in that game. Allman now, he'll just slow it down. No need to rush here if you're the Moncton Magic. Work on your half-court set. Coach Joe Salerno still up off the bench coaching. McColo, nice bounce pass to Day, who feeds it to the corner for Baines. Taylor with the rebound. Back to Baines. He lost the handle. Farrell Thomas thought he had it. And it comes down to the Storm. Nice pass ahead for Valliere. Up and down. Valliere jams it in for the deuce.
And even the end of the bench here, well, I mean, look, it's all relative. We talked about how the depth of this Moncton Magic team, but the end of the bench here, Denzel Taylor and Farrell Thomas and Ashanti Day all showing that they have the athleticism and the game to stick in this league.
McColo providing some defense there as
Ashanti Day again.
Day charged toward the line, but we saw that bucket moments ago by the big center, 6'10", 240, Zach Valliere. Had a nice chat with him before the game. From Boston, Massachusetts. As mentioned, he attended Fitchburg State in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Fitchburg State, I should say. And I was kind of joking with him. I said, do you know Southie down there in Boston? He goes, yeah, actually. He goes, that's because I know that area really well.
Yeah.
And he joked. He said, I said, you're from Boston, the surname Valliere. I go, he looked at me and he laughed. He goes, I'm French, Canadian, Irish. So that's a pretty good combination.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable combo. You talked about it. Those dinner table discussions have got to be lively.
I guarantee you some potlucks would be fantastic at the Valliere household.
And he wanted to say hello to the Hurleys. So the Hurleys, if you're still listening late into the broadcast, sorry we forgot you till now.
So final minute here.
I don't know if that's Bobby Hurley or Danny Hurley.
Ashanti Day, 8 seconds on the shot clock. Defense from Burdine. Farrell Thomas now 3 seconds on the shot clock. Day decides to take it in against Doot. Puts it up and off the glass. Right at the buzzer.
Ashanti Day with the Harden-esque Euro step there.
Aussie from long range. Comes down to Allman. Allman will just step around there. McColo with a little bit of tough D to finish this one out. Shot clock is off now, and I would expect the Magic will just dribble this one out. The fans rise to their feet, giving a standing ovation in appreciation for the effort put forward this evening by the home side Moncton Magic. This is what the fans have been waiting for, David, for this team to come together. It took them a couple of games, but the Moncton Magic hit their stride tonight, and unfortunately for the Island Storm, they were the victims.
Yeah, this is the kind of volume you want to hear at the Moncton Coliseum when this Magic team steps on the floor, and just an incredible job from top to bottom tonight, from the opening whistle right through the 4th quarter.
So the teams shake hands just in front of our broadcast position here. Nice to see. A lot of former Atlantic University sport players. Of course, a lot of former teammates. Some of these players played on the Storm last year. A nice moment seconds ago between Terrell Baines and Brad State's teammates last year with the Storm. So that's nice to see, but a great performance tonight by the Moncton Magic.
Yeah, and it's got to be a big moment for these guys that have seen each other in CIS play.
And a nice moment here now as the Moncton Magic gather around center court to salute the fans. You see this quite often actually in hockey.
Yep.
And a nice moment here, and perhaps the Moncton Magic will make this somewhat of a post-game tradition.
There you go.
But very nice to see, and the fans certainly appreciative of the effort put forth this evening by this very talented Moncton Magic team. I mean, yes, we are the home broadcaster for the Moncton Magic, but we really do try to be fairly evenly keeled. But I think it's fair to say that the hype around this team during the preseason was justified, and anything can happen when you put a team on the floor. You don't know how a team is going to gel. You don't know how they're going to react to playing together. But I think what we saw tonight is probably a very good example of what this Moncton Magic team can do, and you would expect if they stay healthy, they're only going to get more comfortable and get more fluidity as a team as they go forward.
Well, absolutely. There's a reason we talked about it. On paper, they came in as one of the favorites in the league, and paper doesn't always translate. But listen, there's no denying the talent that we have that's on this squad, and there's only so long you can suppress that. And as far as we saw tonight, it took 2 games the talent to be suppressed before it exploded here tonight. And yeah, we do want to be fair and balanced, but in a game that ends with a 32-point victory, there's only so much fair and balance you can offer. And listen, tonight we're going to have fans. This is going to be every game fans. We're going to have a pregame interview that's going to show before the game starts. We're also going to have a post-game interview, and those are not on the live stream, but however they are on the monctonmagic.ca website. And some people have been asking, so I'll clarify a little bit. At the top of the page, when you first go to the Magic website, there are a series of videos there, but if you scroll down the page a little bit, there's more content going down. So people, if you're missing these interviews, just scroll down the page a little bit. You'll see what I mean.
Yeah, I definitely encourage you to visit the Moncton Magic website. You can connect to it directly, or of course go through the NBL Canada website. Lots of great content there. Again, follow David and I on Twitter. Your final score, once again, an exciting game for the Moncton Magic, a tough one for the Island Storm. Leading scorer for the Island Storm was Chris Johnson with 15. A couple of players led the way scoring-wise for the Moncton Magic. Corey Almond was 9 of 17 from the floor, 5 of 13 from three-point land. He had 23 points. And Terry Thomas, a big game, 8 of 14 from the floor, 6 of 9 from the line. He was great getting rebounds in the paint. He had 23 points. So again, a very complete performance by the Moncton Magic. On behalf of David Tingley, I'm Scott Squires. Thank you so much for tuning into our NBL Canada broadcast. It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock Atlantic time when the Moncton Magic take on the Cape Breton Highlanders. Until then, have a great evening. Once again, your final score, the Moncton Magic defeat the Island Storm 115-83. Take care, have a great evening, and good night from the Moncton Coliseum. See you tomorrow.